Good evening, everybody. Mike Geary here for the Geek Pridecast on this Sunday evening. With me tonight, we don't have any guests, but we have my co-host, Peter Ray Allison.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing?
We're a bit thin on the ground today, Pete. No John Joe, no Mark. What's going on?
Slackers, the lot of them.
After our conversation about, getting down, doing the podcast, it's doing quite well for itself, and, getting on it, it's like, can't make it. Yeah. Part-timers,
no dedication, no professionalism.
Yeah, when we're rich and famous, we'll remember them.
Exactly.
No visiting the West Wing or of our palatial mansions and our guitar-shaped pools.
We sit in the Oval Office. Not that I've got setting my sights high or anything,
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, so we'll go straight into it. I finally got to see Doctor Strange the other day. I went to see the Northman went to see the Northman on the Thursday. Or was it Thursday? Yeah. So I went to see it twice. I went to see Northman on the Monday, and then I went to see Doctor Strange on the Tuesday. So 2 days in the cinema, which was great. And we can talk about these things as you've seen Doctor Strange.
I have indeed.
I'll talk about the Northman. I'll not do any spoilers. I did a quick review of it for the website, which is up, a spoiler-free review of the Northman.
The Northman, I've seen the trailers, and basically it looks like Vikings on acid.
Okay, right. So we'll talk about the Northman first before we go into it, and I'll not give anything away. Though to be honest, you probably kind of know the story because I'll explain. But I went to see the Northman. My preconception of what the Northman was just going to be Vikings meets Conan meets something like that. I saw like one advert, just saw this big, Alexander Skarsgård looking absolutely hench, and killing people on axe and stuff. And I was like, okay, so, it's going to be like that. That could be interesting. I saw some good reviews, but I also saw some sort of like, people who didn't seem to get it. So I went with my friend, John, and the first thing it gets you is it isn't what you expect it to be. And I heard some people say it was kind of like Hamlet, and I was just like Hamlet, and I was just like, okay, so that's interesting. That's a bit of an... So I was expecting sort of Shakespearean language and stuff. Now, it doesn't have Shakespearean language. It does have very sort of poetic type of things going on. The way they talk to each other and stuff, and the way they sort of interact with the world around them is very old school, sort of kind of Viking-esque. There is mythology and sort of fantasy around them and stuff. But the main character in it is a guy called Amleth, and if you wonder why Amleth sounds familiar, is because Amleth is an Icelandic legend that that Shakespeare got the inspiration for Hamlet. So basically, what the director has done, is basically taken the original legend of Amleth and made it into a film. So basically, there is, and I put it in if you look on the website, you can check the sort of, I've put a link for the Wikipedia and stuff so you can see about it. So basically, Shakespeare's taken the tragedy of Hamlet, which is based in Denmark, and obviously Vikings, stuff like that. So it's sort of, I'll say modernized, but it's more contemporary to him than it is sort of in sort of 10th century Viking era, as is Amleth. But it's basically, that's what it is. It's basically a legend that inspired Shakespeare. And because of it, there is very Shakespearean, it feels very Shakespearean. It's very odd. For 15, it's also very gory. It's very sort of like, myself and my friend John were watching it, and we're just like, why is this not an 18? And I'm not sure. Maybe there is a bit of sex in it. Maybe there's just not a lot. There's not loads of swearing in it, so maybe that sort of knocked it down a bit. But it's pretty graphic. Like, there's a bit where he kills a bunch of people, and he basically uses their bodies to make the shape of this sort of like horse on the side of a wall, and it's like, torsos and legs and things. It's pretty gruesome. But it's really good. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't anything that I was expecting. I'll again, if you know anything about Hamlet, you kind of get the idea of how it's going to go and stuff. But
it does not end well.
Yeah, so it is a tragedy and stuff. So, but it's just so. It's got Viking-esque, like series Viking-esque sort of things in it. Like there's a bit in it where Bjork, who plays a priestess in it, and she's sort of like, he's talking to, and Skarsgård's character Amleth is talking to her and stuff about, his destiny and things, and it's very Vikings-esque when they're talking to the seer with no eyes and Vikings and things like that. So there are similar things like this. When they fight, and it's good, it's quite gory. There's bits in it which you're just like, fuck, why is this a 15? But it sort of kind of intermingles sort of like, as you would expect from any sort of kind of old school Norse legend where maybe the gods did exist and stuff. Yeah. So there's things that happen and you're not sure if it's reality or dream, and he sees things and it's like, is that him sort of thinking about it? So he, or it, did it happen? And it's very well done. And if you're looking for this sort of action-packed gore fest, you're probably not going to get that. There is fighting in it. There is some really good fighting in it. There's some pretty grim sort of kind of things happen in it, but it's very trippy. It's very bloody. It's the way they talk to each other and stuff is very sort of Shakespearean in a way. It's not. But it's kind of hard to explain. You'd have to watch it, but don't expect it to be like Conan or Vikings and stuff like that, because it's not.
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I thought it was really good. Okay. Once I grasped it and I understood, like when I first heard them say Amleth, I was like, did they say Hamlet? And then I started kind of putting two to two together, and it's like my sort of, I haven't read Hamlet in a very, very, very long time, but I kind of remember-ish the story and stuff, and there was bits in it, and it's just like, this is familiar. And then it all started kind of clicking together, and then when people said it was like Hamlet, I was just like, oh my god, it really is. And the whole thing is just, there's a bit in it, and I'll not give you any spoilers. Again, if you've seen Hamlet, you'll kind of know what's going on. But there's a bit in it where Ethan Hawke, who plays the father, whose name I can't remember, and Skarsgård's character Amleth, when he's younger, go into this sort of kind of place where he becomes a man effectively. He sort of has, and they both start acting like dogs, and then it's got what's his name, William Dafoe, is in it, and he sort of is, he's like the jester, but he also plays one of the sort of priests in it, and it's just so bizarre. It's really weird the way they, and it's and I thought, because Nicole Kidman's in it, and I was like, oh, I don't know.
They've got a fantastic cast.
Yeah, and
Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, and I thought, the accents wise, I didn't think they'd pull it off, but they did. It was all, she's really good. Like, I'm not a huge fan of hers, but I thought she's brilliant. The way she is, and how she's the mother, she's Amleth's mother, and there's lots of sort of edge to it and stuff. And there's more, what happens later on, you have to watch it and stuff, but it's just like, it's just mad and stuff. And I think it's got, now I'm not sure if it's the same girl or not, but Queen's Gambit, the Netflix series about the chess, the lady who plays chess.
Yes.
I think she plays a Slavic slave girl. In it.
Yeah, because she was good in Queen's Gambit.
No, I can't be 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it's her, though. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Somebody in the comments can obviously, or after when they're listening to it, can comment or whatever. But I'm pretty sure it's her. But yeah, it was really good. It's just. I was in the toilet afterwards, so I was in the toilet of the cinema afterwards, and there was a guy in there who'd obviously gone into it with the same sort of mindset as I had. This is going to be like Conan or Vikings the movie, and it wasn't, despite it having its sort of things, similar things. And he was just like, mate, what the fuck was that? That was horrible. What the hell was that horse going into space for? And I was just like, Valkyries. It obviously didn't understand the concept of a Valkyrie and stuff, and he couldn't get his little mind around it and stuff. And I thought that was hilarious. So I just walked out laughing.
I want to hear that monologue from him.
Yeah.
In full. Actually, one film I've seen as well, actually literally just finished watching, is Firestarter.
Okay.
Right, that's the
So because we got a preview of this, we've got a preview of this.
Yeah.
No, it's got mixed. I've not watched it yet. I can grasp because it's based on a Stephen King novel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 1980 Stephen King novel, which was later made into a film back in 1984.
Yeah.
And the film has now been remade just now. And to put it nicely, just stick with the original film.
All right, okay, because it got some pretty bad. It got pretty bad reviews, to be fair. And,
the premise is great. I mean, it suffers from the Stephen King mark of. I mean, the Stephen King films are always very mixed. I mean, you've got the fantastic ones such as The Mist, apart from the last 5 minutes, which is shit. Really, I could have a rant about that for half an hour, but I won't because we're talking about Firestarter. And you got like The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, and also not together with me.
The Stand.
Yeah, pardon?
The Stand.
It
was a TV film. It wasn't really a film, was it?
Yeah, Stand was always a bit hit and miss because it's big. But anyway, Stand By Me as well, another fantastic Stephen King film. But then you got The Turkeys, and this unfortunately is one of the Turkeys. I mean, it's by Blumhouse Productions as well, Jason Blum, and he's done some fantastic horror films. And really, he should know better. I mean, he did fantastic work on the Purge films.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, the premise is great. Basically, this couple take part in drug trials during college, and it gives them both psychic abilities, and then their child has pyrokinetic abilities. But the execution is just very bland. Right. It doesn't do anything new. It doesn't try to say anything different. And a prime example of what it's just very lazily done, very ponderous. It's by the same guy it's written by the same guy that did Halloween Kills, which was another kind of nonsensical, unnecessary sequel. Right. Because the remake of Halloween a few years ago was just brilliant. It did not need a sequel. And because the strength of that, remake a few years ago, it said, "Oh, let's make a trilogy." And so you kind of got. But anyway, back to Firestarter. You got here is just basically, it's just very bland, very badly executed, and I just wasn't gripped. I wasn't grabbed by the writing. And example is like, we need to kind of protect like our agents from mind control. Okay, we'll just give them special. What do you call them?
Glasses?
Implants? Not implants, sorry. Contact lenses.
Right.
I was like, why do contact lenses stop you from being mind controlled?
No idea.
Exactly. And but there's no explanation. It's like, these contact lenses protect us from mind control. How? You don't know how his mind abilities work because he's been on the run for so many years. How do you know that? And I think that's kind of that kind of lack of laying down the foundations of kind of putting in these kind of plot twists. Where you could look.
Is this? Have you read you've read the book? Have you?
I've read the book.
How sort of close to the source material is it?
Premise, yes, it's very close. Execution, different. Resolution, quite different.
Right.
Like in the book ends with basically the young child.
Whoa! Before anybody. I know it's been. I know it's been out for a while, but just in the off chance, because I appreciate that. But obviously, there's a new film out, and actually, does the book ending and the film
very different?
All right. Okay. So all right. So you can do
Charlie in the book ends with incinerating everything.
All right. Okay.
And basically goes to a library, asks a librarian, basically, who can I tell a story to that is, without government intervention, and to go to Rolling Stone magazine, basically, and that's how it ends. This ends quite differently.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, also, when the book was written, we were coming out of the 70s psychedelia element where there was drug trials, and there was kind of like Cold War element around at the time, and you got Watergate and Nixon and all that kind of still lingering on. So you had the kind of sort of inertia of the current cultural climate that informed Firestarter. Here we live, 40 years later, we live in a very different time, and therefore it just felt different, and I don't think it needed. It modernized it, but I just don't think the way they executed it did the story justice.
Because I don't like reading reviews before films come out, but I had a quick sort of, because I was like, Firestarter rings a bell because I sort of vaguely remember the old school film.
It's a good film as well.
Yeah, and then I saw some of the reviews and I was getting slammed, and I was just like, okay.
It's not a terrible film.
Right, okay. Watchable then.
It's watchable in the background is the best way I can put it.
I
think which is almost damning in and of itself, really.
Have you ever, this on a random note, have you ever walked out of a film? Or stopped watching it because you're just like, this is dog shit. I can't.
I have actually, yes.
What was it?
I'm trying to remember. I've watched loads of films as well.
I've got two examples for myself that I am very easy to please, as you know, Pete. I'm quite easygoing when it comes to films and stuff like that. I'm very emotionally led and how things are. If they make me feel good, they make me feel happy, then that's just the way it is. I also like very deep films and stuff like that. I quite like thinking about them and stuff. So ghost stories and things like that, where there's a lot going on, you got to think about it afterwards. I like that sort of thing. But one film that we're talking about mindless sort of kind of stuff. Transformers First Night, or Last Night. I couldn't watch it. I got about 30 minutes into it, and I was just like, this is absolute wank. And I was just like, it was horrible, and I stopped watching it. I just couldn't do it anymore. I was just like, I am not subjecting myself to this film anymore. And the other one, because I'm a massive history buff, I like my history, was Alexander. And it's got Colin Farrell in it, and it's got what's his name, played Batman, Val Kilmer. And what really upsets me about it is he's got, like, I don't know why they gave this decision that Alexander the Great has an Irish accent. And then, because obviously Val Kilmer plays Philip of Macedon, his father, he's got an Irish accent. He puts on an Irish accent. And it's so fucking weird. It's just like odd. And it's just like, in general, it just wasn't a good, and it's a film that I stopped watching, and I love my war films and stuff. I just couldn't do it at all. Alistair says on Facebook, third Scorpion King movie for me. Also download it when I fly somewhere, as it sends me to sleep in 10 minutes.
That's fair.
Yeah.
One film I have stopped watching and just couldn't watch it. I mean, I'll start with this. I love Mila Jovovich. I'm happily married and I still love her. And I love science fiction. I love vampires. So the film Ultraviolet should be an easy sell for me. Short story, it wasn't. It was terrible. It was just, I'm sitting there watching what's going on. This makes no absolute sense whatsoever, and in a bad way. I mean, I've watched completely bonkers films. I freely admit I love bonkers film, but this is just mind-numbingly dumb.
Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm quite easy to please, but I'm. It's like currently, right? So, and it's on the same topic, but I'm umming and ahhing about it. So with Picard, it started off, I was a bit like, I'm just not getting this, but I gave it a chance, and eventually it got better. Same thing's happening. Have you heard of the the Pentaverate, which is Mike Myers' new thing on Netflix.
Oh, I've heard of it. It sounds weirdly compelling.
Thing is, right? So he's not been in anything for ages. So he plays a million characters. He plays, as he does, he plays a lot of characters and stuff like that. It's got what's his name? From Keenan and Peele. Which one is it? I can't remember which one was which now. It's like out the deck. I can't remember. Anyway, Keenan, I can't think it's Keenan. But he's in it, and it's. I'm not sure if it's like funny or not, and I'm just sort of kind of getting this because I've watched I'm on the third episode, and it's really odd because it's kind of like this. The Pentaverate is this sort of Illuminati type thing, but they're kind of good guys. They're trying to help the world, but they do it in a sort of kind of clandestine, sort of like, weird cultish way and stuff. And it's like one of Mike Myers' characters is this Canadian sort of proper, polite, nice journalist, and it's got things like when they film in Canada, it's all in the old school ratio, so it's not widescreen. It's sort of like old school. It's a bit grainy, and then there's a bit where they go into America and it changes. It goes to HD and it's wider and stuff. So things it's got little smart things that happen, and there's bits in it where you think, all right, yeah, that's really smart and that is quite amusing, but I'm not overly grasping it at the minute, and I'm not sure if I'm just not understanding the humor because it's kind of old school in a way. It's old school or Mike Myers in a way, and I'm not sure if it sort of kind of ties in well with modern humor and stuff. And maybe I'm just used to something a bit more shock factor than sort of the way it is, but yeah. It's sort of, I'm at that sort of cusp at this moment in time where I'm like, I'm either going to love this or I'm going to really hate it and stop watching it and stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to give it like another episode, maybe a fourth, just to make sure, and then decide. But it's like the first one's very sort of dry and there is a bit of humor in it and stuff, but it's just like there's just loads of characters, all Mike Myers, and you're like, it's old school Mike Myers, which it's kind of funny but isn't, and I don't know, it's aged quite badly and stuff. I don't know. So it's sort of teetering at the minute, so I'm kind of going, am I enjoying this? Now there was a bit in the last episode which I found hilarious, and it's like it's just a bit where they're in a bar, these Canadians are in the bar with an American bar, and the Americans obviously are swearing every other word and stuff. And they do a thing where they cut off the Netflix and they'll all go, well, we're going to make sure that, we cut out all the swearing. So they go back and they play back the scene with all the swearing gone. But it does this really funny scene of, you have to watch it, but it cuts everything out. And it changes the scene really well because it's sort of, so that's funny. But it's just odd. And I'm not sure if I'm fully grasping it at the minute. So I'm going to give it another episode or two and see how if it goes and stuff. Again, it's reviews. People have saying it's genius, and other people are just saying it's shit. So it's just like there's obviously that happy.
Bit of a Marmite film.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a bit of a Marmite thing. So I'll probably give it a few more and then have a think about it. But I was kind of excited to see Mike Myers back again.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he's been quiet for many years. He's been quiet for a long time.
It's got Jennifer Saunders in it.
Really?
Yeah, it's got Jennifer Saunders in it as well.
Oh, she was in as well, Death in the Nile as well.
Oh, yes, she was.
And that was a fantastic film. Look, it looked amazing, but it
wasn't as good as the first one, I don't think. Yeah. Death on the Orient Express.
I mean, even then, they feel unnecessary. I mean, Kenneth Branagh is bringing his interpretation of Poirot.
Yeah.
To Hollywood, but David Suchet's performance was just so iconic as Poirot that any kind of subsequent deviation feels off-putting. And also, Brandon's kind of bringing in elements that were never present in the novels, like the fact that Poirot apparently served in World War One. He didn't. He was in his 50s then, according to the Agatha Christie's novels,
Yeah.
and it just feels a bit. Really, in all seriousness, this should have been a completely different character, where Branagh could have done whatever he wanted to, with the same story or whatever, but kind of making adhering it to, making forcing it to be a Poirot film, when there's so many changes to it, feels like a disservice.
Yeah, he's on the spectrum as well, isn't he? So like the way he sort of has to
Yeah.
have his eggs in a certain
Well,
way.
again, that has always been better. He's always been kind of obsessive compulsive, very focused. He has a very precise way, but also he's not in the novels. He displays of aggression. He's like kind of stamps his cane down sharply, but it's very controlled. To see Branagh kind of portraying Poirot as shouting at people and ranting and raving, that's like, well, no, Poirot wouldn't do that. He's very controlled, and that control kind of is expressed through his OCD. He wants to control everything, and yeah, it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I watched it, but it wasn't memorable. I quite liked the Orient Express, but Death on the Nile. I just watched it in the background and stuff. It was one of those things. I was on my phone at the time, and it didn't really get me sort of off my phone.
Even Murder on the Orient Express. I mean, I'm going to get shut down for this, and I apologise. Wasn't that good? I mean, there was a chase scene in there, which you could tell that was only the chase scene to kind of liven things up for Hollywood, and it just felt so out of character for Poirot to be running around after some. That's what he's got his lieutenants for. Go, chase that man down. I'll sit to you with a cup of tea and wait for you to catch him.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like, if you want to take such liberties with a character, create a new character, please. Do not try to avail yourself to an existing IP just to kind of get the audience numbers up. Sorry.
Yeah. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's 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 like there's a big thing currently at the minute where obviously with the Halo series, and John Spartan has finally got his end away. Apparently, he is no longer a virgin, and there's this big sort of hoo-ha about that and stuff, and but the fact that he took his helmet off, and like I've not seen any of them yet because I'm downloading. I'm sort of I've got them all from Josh, and I'm going to watch them all at the same time. But yeah, I've been seeing some of the nerd rage about it currently, so I'll wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things you can do to a character in order to the nature of the adaptation. For example, you're going from a video game, which is specifically a first-person shooter, where you never see in the game what John Spartan looks like.
Yeah.
So therefore, when then becomes from being a first-person shooter to a film where the scenes, sets, interaction, you can't have a silent protagonist.
Can you not? Because you with Judge Dredd, the Carl Urban Judge Dredd, he never took off his helmet.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, but that's different. That's just very different, though.
He could still have him talking. He just didn't need to take his helmet. You didn't, but you didn't have to take off his helmet and stuff. And it's just sort of like he didn't need to be silent because he's not silent. He talks in the games. It's just sort of when he take off his helmet, you don't know what he looks like because he's you're him in the game and stuff. So they could have done that. Him taking off his helmet, is that giving him a personality? Is it a game changer? Is it sort of something that's going to annoy me? Probably not, to be honest. It's not,
again, like in that regard, I could excuse it. I mean, for something like Judge Dredd, I mean, it is iconic that he always has his helmet on, but he still interacts with a lot of people.
Yeah,
and I think just the nature of the going from a first-person shooter where you're very much railroaded in terms of plot. You don't have any kind of dialogue options. It's always pre-scripted. So, yeah, I can take more liberties with Halo than I can with Judge Dredd.
So, do you think, right? So, when it comes to there was changes in Lord of the Rings. So you've read Lord of the Rings, probably. Have you read Lord of the Rings? Yes.
Oh yes, I have. Don't worry.
Yeah. So what did you think of the changes to the films, to the characters in the
To
films.
be honest, I could. That was fine with me. Lord of the Rings was fine with me. But there's a caveat to this.
Yeah.
The Hobbit trilogy of films did not work for me.
No, I
because they just took too many deviations from the plot.
The Hobbit, I know we seem to be sort of piling through we're going through different films bit by bit here, but it's like The Hobbit for me was bittersweet.
Yes.
You know, I love the Lord of the Rings films. I'm currently making the Death of Boromir diorama at the minute. I love Lord of the Rings. You can see my Lord of the Rings figures everywhere. You know, it's a massive thing. The books, the series. I've read everything, including the Silmarillion numerous times. And you know, I love it. When The Hobbit came out and they said it was a trilogy, I was slightly concerned because it's quite a short book. I was also slightly concerned because it's a bit more geared towards children than maybe sort of Lord of the Rings is.
Well, it is a children's book, to be fair.
And so I was just like, how are they going to get around this? They got around it by changing things slightly and then adding a lot more. Now, because it's a short book, I kind of didn't mind some of the what's the word, exposition, some of the stuff that what happened to Gandalf, the fact that there was Sauron, the basically, because in the book they talk about the necromancer who's is Sauron basically, and you know, Gandalf going off and all that stuff. I kind of like that because it gave you something that you didn't get in the book, but you kind of knew was kind of going on in the background. But a lot of the other stuff where they sort of kind of fleshed it out, and it just didn't. They didn't need to do it in 3 films. The Battle of Five Armies was a bit of a disappointment. I didn't sort of think it did it justice. The Men of Dale just seemed completely ineffective and stuff. It was just like, they weren't really an army. They were just like this rabble, and it was just like, it didn't sort of make sense to me. And you didn't really have, because it's like the 5 armies were elves, dwarves, men, goblins, and wargs. And there wasn't really a warg army, you know, and it's just sort of like, you know, where were the wargs? And, it's just sort of, so it you know, they took a lot of liberties with that. The one thing that annoyed me the most in the Hobbit films was the fact that orcs running around in the daytime, which was just like, what the fuck's going on? You know, it's sort of, the Uruks were sort of like, you know, they're a hybrid, but that was before this and stuff. Orcs themselves shouldn't be running around in the daytime. But also the fact that there was just too much reliance on CGI. And I appreciate in the old ones there was CGI, but they had a lot of...
They had a reliance on practical effects, which were enhanced by CGI.
And this one was just pure CGI, and it was just like, that was irksome, because it's like, you know, I appreciate, so you watch back some of the old Lord of the Rings films, and it's not like they're dated, but they're, you know, you could tell they're sort of...
I would disagree though. I mean, I've watched them earlier this year, all 3 in a row. Well, not literally all in a row, but like the over a period of a few days, my wife and I watched the expanded edition of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
And I feel like, okay, this is even better the second time round I'm watching them, because I'm like, these are really good films. And the ending, the fact that I could I'd been sitting there for 3 hours and now to watch all 6 different endings, the endings now worked for me because it wasn't bursting for the toilet. But it worked for me, and it was just a good trilogy of films that told a fantastic story and, you know, adapted it from the page to the cinema screen, or home screen, I should say, as well as can be expected, because in the nature of any adaptation from one medium to another, there are going to be changes because the nature of each medium is different.
Like, I'm not too precious. Like, a lot of people are asking why, you know, the Tom Bombadil thing, the Barrow, you know, the bit with the Barrow Wights and stuff at the start. It's like they were they weren't necessary for the story to sort of kind of move forward. Him being in it was a bit of a non-event anyway. He's basically, people think he's effectively a Luvatar, he's effectively God, or, it could be inference that he is, that, and he just doesn't have any need. The ring is not important to him and stuff.
Yeah.
And to have him in it would just be, like a bit of it would be like the casino scene in Star Wars.
Yeah,
unnecessary.
You can take it out and have
it would be unnecessary and stuff. So it's just like, it was something that drove it forward. And there were little bits and pieces where, they changed things slightly, and like Aragorn and Gimli going off during Helm's Deep and stuff. And there was certain things that you're just like, yeah, but from my memory of the books and of the series, I was just like, yeah, that did, I really enjoyed it, and it was something that really sort of kind of, I went, yeah, I can see why they've done that and why they've done this, especially in the extended editions where you get a little bit more.
Yeah, there's more meat to it. There's more meat in the.
There is a bit more meat to it, but yeah, the Hobbit films, again, I didn't hate, and I love the dwarf. I think it's just weird because when you've got this benchmark of Lord of the Rings, the films, and then you've got the Hobbit, where the tone's a lot different because it is a kid's book, but they've tried to sort of make it a bit, so there's singing, lots of sort of silly singing, which is in the books, but in the book, sorry, but they've put it in, and then obviously the trolls, which are like, in the Lord of the Rings, they just grunt and moan and they don't talk, and now they're like basically, either Cockneys or Australian, whatever they're trying to be and stuff, and it's just sort of odd.
I love that little kind of glimpse you missed it of these trolls turned to stone in the extended edition of Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
It's just like just random things, and like, oh. And it didn't need to be there, but it kind of added elements. Like it felt there's more going on in this world than just what you've seen in the film.
Yeah.
Also, one thing to note as well is, I mean, the directors of the film did kind of correct the imbalance of the fact that their characters in the film, that because the nature of this was originally a children's book, there's kind of like that are literally axe crazy, berserkers, Dwalin, for example, and they kind of like, he went from being a bumbling idiot to being in kind of actually psychotic. Like, how do you kind of balance that two out? And in the process, I think they did explain it, but it did not need to be told over 3 films. I mean, I've spoken to Graham McTavish about this many years ago at Sci-Fi Weekender, and there's loads of little, again, they kind of brought the production approach the Lord of the Rings to the Hobbit. I mean, you'd never see this in the film, but the axes were engraved with Biter and Gripper.
Okay, yeah.
Of Dwalin's axes, and because like he'd read lost this poet Emily Dickinson.
Okay.
And like there's kind of little natures of it, but it just felt. This is a story that was just expanded unnecessarily for the purposes of making money.
Yeah. They, 2 films maybe, and I think
I would say make it just
or a long film, just a long single film could, a longer single film could have worked.
A 2-hour film, you could. I mean, I am not a filmmaker, producer, director, but I've seen films, dozens of book adaptations. You could do this quite easily, given the fact it is a children's book.
Yeah. I'd say, like, I think even 2 hours is, I think they could have done it in one film, but with a little bit of exposition, and maybe sort of had a longer film. Like, you've got films these days for like 3 hours and stuff longer, or maybe just sort of had an extended edition. I wouldn't have minded into a second film, and I appreciate, it's just like, oh, everybody has to do things in trilogies and stuff, but do you have to? It's just, and I think they just sort of expanded it way too much, and it did sort of as Bilbo says, I feel like butter spread over too much. Butter over too much bread. And it was just too sort of expanded. And I just hope and I think Mr. Wilson said on the comments there on Facebook. TV series. He hopes the TV series lives up to Lord of the Rings. I do as well. Like, I'm going to be very upset if they've spent all this money and they just overdo it. With
as I understand it, this is going to be a completely original story set during the Second Age.
Yes, so it's going to be
all going to be about like Sauron's rise to power.
Yeah, well, so it's going to basically be obviously after Melkor, so Silmarillion stuff. So it's going to be it'll be Melkor being banished, the rise of Sauron, who was one of his lieutenants.
Yeah.
So it could be interesting. It's going to have the Silmarils in it and stuff, and
it's going to have like the Rings of Power. Well, obviously, it's going to have the Rings of Power in it, but it could just like see the human kings that became the Nazgul.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to think. Second Age. That's going to be. It's basically going to have the fall of Numenor. Then I think. Yeah. So you're going to have basically the fall of Numenor. And then potentially the Black Númenóreans, which is good. Thing is, like, the Silmarillion, for anybody who's not read it, is dark. It's very dark. It's dense. You have to read it a couple of times to get through all the different things, because he's got ways. So it starts off, it's basically the Bible for Lord of the Rings, and you've basically got Ilúvatar, Eru Ilúvatar, who's God, effectively, and then it starts off with the Inari, or like his sort of demigods, and it's got all these different sort of ways they sort of. So it's the way in the sort of, there's names in Elvish, and then there's what they're called in Dwarvish, and then there's what they're called in human, and then sort of in the tongue of men, and there's all these different ways they name things and stuff, and it's very sort of hard to grasp it all and stuff, but it's also like really dark, and you can tell he wrote a lot of it sort of during his time in the trenches in World War One, because it's dark and stuff, and there's some really sort of like there's incest, and it's very Game of Thrones in certain ways and stuff like this. Like it's sort of I can't even remember. It's been so long since I've read it now. But there's always like the one story, and I think I've mentioned it before and stuff, but it's basically, it's one of the children of Hurin. What's their names? Oh god, they're complete. Thurimbor. Churimbor. God, somebody's gonna have to. I'm gonna have to sort of. Well, anyway, right. So, sister and brother, names who have completely just gone out of my head, as is always the case. But children of Hurin, and there's a big dragon in it called Galrong, and Galrong is basically just he going around killing things and sort of basically doing what dragons do. Something happens where when he can make you sort of go mad by staring at you and stuff, and sort of he attacks the sister, again, his name because like an A, I think, and it's in my head. It's just gonna pop up. It'll be tonight. I'll be like, oh, it's that, and I can't remember. But anyway, so she sort of kind of goes off into the forest, having been sort of like hypnotized by Galrong, and Glaurung, I think Glaurung. Is it Glaurung? Fuck, yeah. Anyway, apologies for my pronunciation of names and things like that, but if you've read somebody, you'll understand. And the Thurimbor, term fucking begins with a T, whatever his name is. He sort of goes off and joins that happens to him, so he loses his mind as well. The father, Hurin, basically is currently sort of kind of chained to a cliff face in oh god, what is it with me and names today? Oh my god, I'm meant to be a Lord of the Rings fan. Anyway, names are completely going, but anyway, he's off, they go off, he becomes a bandit. She disappears.
Oh yeah.
And then what happens is they both meet again, and they both they don't know each other because they're obviously under this spell from Glaurung the dragon, and they fall in love, and she gets pregnant, and then what happens is he goes to fight the dragon, and he basically he sort of pierces its heart, and he basically, just before it dies, he gets frozen in place, and it turns around to her at the end and basically goes, hey, guess what, that's your brother, and that's an incest baby, and then dies, and then she realizes and then fucking kills herself. And then he sort of kind of comes out and sort of realizes as well and stuff. It's super dark, like really dark. It's really good. Like the whole sort of is, but you can tell sort of it's like The Hobbit is for children. Lord of the Rings is sort of kind of half and half.
Yeah.
Silmarillion is very, very adult.
Dark.
It's very dark. There's a lot of dark stuff that happens in it. You know, a lot of people killed in very horrible ways. You know, just sort of the whole thing is very bleak. But I'm kind of hoping that in the new series they do not. They can't, because they've got a lot of money going in. They do make it quite dark, because it should be. It should be quite dark. I'm still annoyed I can't remember the name of the bloody...
Yeah, I mean, I saw the teaser, the teaser of the trailer, which showed like the reveal of the titles, and that in itself was fantastic. Like the level of effects and detail in there, and like the reveal of like the Rings of Power title, and that was look good. So if they kind of put that level of detail into the rest of the series, then fine with me. Keep it up.
Yeah, I was close. So it is Glaurung. So the dragon's right. Turin Thuramber is the name of the son. So I was close there as well. And Nienor and Nienel is the daughter, sister. If you get sort of time and you just want to read, just read a Wikipedia like Glaurung, the dragon, and the children of Huron. It's fucking messed up. It's so messed up.
Actually, you mentioned about the films I walked out from. Yep. One more, I'm getting the whole meat of this podcast, which is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. One film I had to stop watching was Philomena, starring Steve Coogan and the very lovely. She played Lucy Dench.
Oh, Jane. Oh yeah,
Judi Dench. Yeah. Judi Dench. And I had to walk out in that because I was becoming too angry. Have you watched Philomena?
No, I've not seen it.
Okay, it's semi-autobiographical dramatization of true events, basically about the nunneries in Ireland where mothers gave birth to unwanted babies and had them buried. And then they were killed there.
Right, okay.
And they weren't raised, they were just killed. And basically it's all like Steve Coogan's playing this journalist who goes to meet Philomena and kind of learn about the story, about what happened and what happened to her daughter. And it was absolutely harrowing. It was like it was basically presented initially as sort of kind of a comedy drama. And for me, it wasn't. And I was like, no, this is wrong. This happened, and this is wrong. And why aren't we doing more about this? And I just came out this absolutely incensed. I mean, my wife's going, well, no, you've watched loads of stuff about 24 and spooks where people are tortured. Yeah, but this is wrong. Yeah. And I just had to stop watching it because I was like, we watched stuff before we go to bed, and I was like, I can't sleep. I'm just too angry and furious at what is happening.
Well, did you walk? Was it because it's a bad film, or is it just because the content of it was just so?
It wasn't the content was bad. It was because it was so well done. It made me so angry, and in the sense that I just couldn't.
So it was a good film. So you didn't walk out of it because it was a bad film. You walked out of it because of the content was just so harrowing
harrowing and genuine.
I've it was like when I'm watching like Making a Murderer, and the West of Memphis, which is another one, which is basically about the West Memphis
West Memphis
four.
Free. Oh, sorry.
Is there 4 of them or 3 of them? 4 of them.
Three of them. West Memphis Free.
Is it West Memphis 3?
Featuring Damon Eccles and
there's basically those things, and you sort of kind of see. The American justice system, like ours isn't perfect, but you see stuff that's going on and you're like blatantly just going, come on, man, that is so much bullshit. And then it makes you angry to the point where you're just like, I can't watch this anymore. It's just it's just infuriating me. But I think as films go, harrowing wise, The Road, the film adaptation of The Road, beautiful film, but I'll never watch that film ever again because it was just so bleak and dark that I was just like, I came out of it feeling slightly ill. And just sort of I just don't know.
Requiem for a Dream. I watched that 20 years ago, and I never ever want to watch it again. It's a fantastic film, but so harrowing and bleak and remorseless, but yes, that was fantastic, and I don't want to see it ever again.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So, we've both seen Doctor Strange now.
We have indeed.
So, if anybody's listening to this and has not seen Doctor Strange, then I would suggest you stop listening and come back.
And go and see the film.
And then come back, and then you can have a listen to it now. You've had a good sort of nearly an hour of us yabbering on about every film in the world currently. And so this is going to be about Doctor Strange. Again, if you've not seen it, please
go and see it. You will enjoy it. There's a lot to enjoy.
And come back and then you can sort of
listen to the podcast
and give the review. Yeah, make sure you do subscribe and follow and download and stuff, because we're currently, numbers-wise, we're doing, for us, it's doing quite well, and we're going up and up and up every month and stuff, so it's good, and we just, we need that constant flow to go, so it would be good if everybody could carry on doing that, but, spoiler alerts, very much coming ahead. So if you haven't seen it, please don't shout at us.
Into spoilers, so it's your fault. We've given you enough warning.
Very much so. Okay, so I liked it. I didn't love it.
Okay, I enjoy. I mean, it was not a perfect film by any stretch. It's not my favorite MCU film. And I will caveat this by saying, Doctor Strange is not my favorite character. But I did enjoy this film a lot.
I came out of it just kind of going, yeah, that was all right. And generally when you sort of like, when I remember like Avengers came out, and I was like, yes, this is awesome. Yeah, it's cool, so good. And there were some really good bits. Some of the cameos and things like that were really good.
The whole Illuminati scene, it was just fantastically well done.
Yeah, and the Illuminati scene. So you have
Black Bolt,
Reed Richards. Is it Reed Richards?
Reed Richards.
Yeah, Reed Richards. Professor X.
Yeah. And I love that little kind of like the X-Men theme from the 1990s, just coming underscoring. Again, I mean, music is so well done in this film. It's really the sound score and the way they did the musical direction was just fantastic.
Yeah, and then you had obviously Captain Carter, and then you had the I'm not sure what number designation they gave that multiverse, but obviously you had Captain Marvel,
played by Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, Monica Rambeau. Yeah,
which is just nicely done.
Yeah. And I liked, because the things what I liked about it. Now, as much as I didn't come out of it buzzing, what I enjoyed about it was the fact that they made Scarlet Witch the bad guy, the protagonist, not protagonist, the bad
antagonist.
Guy. Antagonist, yes, or the antagonist. And I just thought that was really well done, because you had no idea that was coming, and that, when you first realize when he goes to see her at the farm, and then everything changes and stuff, and it goes sort of like all red and stuff, because obviously she's been using the Darkhold and stuff. It's like, oh my god, she's gonna be the
big
bad guy,
bad.
and then you think, oh no, but she's gonna wise up and it's gonna be all right. And it's like, no, she literally is throughout the whole thing, just crazed mama who basically wants to see her kids. And
Yeah, there is that. My one problem with this though is, if watch WandaVision, you see that is all about Wanda coming to terms with her grief,
yes,
and then so well, okay, but then it kind of comes back to the fact like, oh, we're now exploring grief again and how she had everything taken from her, but not once is Vision mentioned.
yeah, he doesn't sort of, yeah.
And it almost underscores the resolution at the end of WandaVision. My only kind of way I have of kind of kind of make joining the dots in my mind is that basically WandaVision is all about Wanda's love of Vision and how he was taken from her. Fair enough. And then, this is the family she could have had, but then she kind of put them to. And what was a really deeply affecting scene for me in WandaVision was where she puts them to bed and then erases them. And was like, literally, you're putting your children to bed to die.
Yeah.
And that really, really affected me. I'm a dad with 3 kids, and yeah, that was just really was a gut wrench for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then she kind of realised that yes, there's a resolution there. The only kind of but it was like the dark hole that you saw reading at the end of WandaVision kind of started infecting her, or so to speak, or corrupting her, and started kind of saying, well, why didn't you go to other children? And that's kind of where it goes. But it did still, Wanda's presence in Doctor Strange did underscore that kind of sort of emotional resolution at the end of WandaVision.
Yeah. But she played it had a lot of that horror aspect.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It was.
Well, the reason Sam Raimi is a horror director.
Yeah.
And he there's dozens of little horror references, like the hand coming up, when Doctor Strange inhabits his own corpse from another.
Oh yeah, there's a very Army of Darkness stuff going on.
Exactly.
Very Army of Darkness.
Very Night of the Living Dead. When Wanda comes through a mirror, that kind of echoes all Ringu and Sadako.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also even when Wanda's following them through the tunnels, and then to close the one behind it, and then there's zoom cuts on the door as kind of the door's being pushed open.
Yeah.
That was very Evil Dead, which Sam Raimi also directed.
Yeah. And
I would not describe this as a horror film, but I would describe it as a film with horror elements in it.
Yeah. It's quite dark. And she, her sort of relentless sort of pursuit of them through the multiverse. I enjoyed that, and what's her name, America
Chavez.
Yeah, Chavez, who can obviously manipulate the multiverse and stuff, was an interesting character.
She did not have much to do though, other than at the final 10 minutes did you really come into her own. But generally, she just became a sort of a plot device for moving the plot forward, which felt a distinct disservice for both the actress and the character. Yeah. That said, she did brilliantly what was given, but really, I would like to have seen more.
Yeah. I like because obviously it's got a cameo of Bruce Campbell in it and stuff. Yeah. The Campbell.
Now, I very nearly gave my review a 1 star. Because not one point did Bruce Campbell say groovy.
Yeah,
and if I come with a lot to expect from Bruce Campbell, that is groovy. Even in Burn Notice TV series, which you've ever watched that, if not, please stop this podcast, go and watch all 6 seasons and then come back. It's a fantastic season. But yeah, even there, they kind of do the occasional Evil Dead reference.
Yeah, there's bits in it like when he's fighting himself is very akin to the bit where he's fighting himself.
Exactly.
In
again another horror reference because in Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead 2 is doing that.
Yeah, and he does it sort of like when he's fighting the sort of the young versions of the small versions of him in Army of Darkness and stuff, and so it is very much sort of like that. So it's just a bit at the end, sort of, because there's two post credit scenes. There's one that sort of ties in with the next sort of.
Yeah, did you recognize the character that appeared?
No, I didn't.
That was Clea, who's from the comics, and she's basically is one of the future people that become a Sorcerer Supreme in the future. Yeah, so it's kind of setting up very much, I think, the future. Obviously, it's going to set up Doctor Strange 3, but yeah, it's just where it's going to go.
I kind of like the fact that they add a lot more Wong in this one and stuff as well.
Yes, Wong kind of his role very much upgraded from being comedy sidekick to actually be the Sorcerer Supreme for that universe. Because I mean, like Doctor Strange was snapped for 5 years, so Wong became the Sorcerer Supreme, and he hadn't given up, which he shouldn't. And he really played Benedict Wong, who played Wong, played that brilliantly. He played someone who was the Sorcerer Supreme, and someone who took this role responsibly, other than say Doctor Strange.
I enjoyed it. It wasn't one I went out of just going, oh my god, it was so good. Like, most of the ones I see, I'm just like, brilliant, and I enjoyed it. I like the concept of it. I love the fact that she was basically the antagonist, and
I mean, I find it telling that Elizabeth Olsen, she had a much stronger character arc as Wanda throughout the film than the title character of Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange's basically character arc was stop pining over Christine Palmer.
Yeah, pretty
much.
Which
almost does a disservice to Christine Palmer and the actress that plays her.
Yeah.
To be fair, whilst Wanda had to kind of go from being like the hunting America Chavez to claim her children first, to get to her children, to realizing, no, I've been corrupted by the Darkhold, and that felt in accepting, who she is and what she is.
What did you think of? So the way they ended it, the way they basically got around her, was by showing her as the bad person in front of her kids. And I don't know if I like that or not. I'm not sure if that sort of, it felt like a bit of a cop out. It was just like after all of this, all we needed to do is show your kids that you were being a bit of a shit, and they would get upset, and then you'd be like, oh no, what have I done?
I think if you kind of show your children how you look, how your children see you, is a massive influence on any parent, as far as I see it. I mean, if my kids said, "Oh, but you're daddy, you're being nasty," then if oh, shit, that would really kind of upset me, because I try to be the best person they can be for my kids, and for them to turn around and say no, then that would really kind of upset me and make me stop and think. So I think Wanda being confronted by seeing the unalloyed truth of her actions and how her children see her, that would shock her. I think it would shock any parent. Hell, it'd shock me.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I mean, and also to be fair, I mean, also there was the other Wanda there as well, and kind of see the two contrasts between the two, and how the children were choosing their mother over Wanda. Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the resolution, it could argue, why didn't do that sooner? But then it felt right for that moment in the film.
I liked that because she is meant to be one of, if not the most powerful Marvel.
Cheers.
I like the fact that they struggled to deal, and it's the fact that she again. If you're listening, if you've just dropped into this and you're listening, spoilers, but she kills all of the Illuminati and stuff, and even Captain Marvel. So
I love that. I love that battle with Captain Marvel. I mean, it's telling in itself that that also just Captain Carter was the last one standing as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and I just love that line. I can do this all day, which echoes Steve Rogers' line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in Captain Marvel, like a very powerful energy projection, but Wanda Maximoff, she can control reality at her will.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a really satisfying showdown. One showdown I really enjoyed was when Professor Xavier went into
The mind and her mind.
mind
Yeah.
of the, and that was really done nicely. That kind of completely wet, sterile um, mindscape with just kind of this shattered building in the center, the shattered room, and little TV sort of echoing WandaVision there. And then so you had that red mist appearing. That was a really nicely done mindscape, I thought.
Yep. He's Patrick Stewart said he's open to playing Charles Xavier more and stuff apparently. So
Yes, I would be down. I mean, I would not be surprised if out of this, Doctor Strange started becoming inspired to create his own, create his universe's own version of the Illuminati.
yeah, that's true actually.
I could see that happening.
It's got John Krasinski who plays Reed Richards and stuff.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting if, because the Fantastic Four has been, you know, the last films. The last one was a crap, and you know even the ones before that were pretty crap.
It has always been, you know, that for whatever reason, directors, producers, and studios have never really captured the magic of the Fantastic Four comics.
Yeah, and I'd just be interested because see how they, you know, would they bring him in as sort of as Reed Richards in a Fantastic Four, and maybe finally doing a film that isn't naff, basically. So
yeah, that is the key part. I mean, I think for what we saw of Reed Richards, John Krasinski, he did that part brilliantly, nicely done. Absolutely no problems there. If you want to play Reed Richards, thumbs up from me. Again, Black Bolt. I thought Black Bolt was done neatly. I mean, the Inhumans TV series was just terrible, but Black Bolt was actually okay.
His death was hilarious, though, man.
I laughed at that as well.
Yeah, it's just like he's just like he can kill you with a whisper, and then it says with what mouth, and then he's got no mouth, and then his head explodes, and it's just like fucking awesome.
But again, that was a massive reference to the Matrix.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and again, just what I'm to Reed Richards as well, where just completely kind of unraveled, was just horrific in itself. To be fair.
Yeah. So it's not bad. Like I enjoyed it. It's a good Marvel film. It's not my favorite. It's not sort of up there. But I did enjoy it. It's not bad.
I think I enjoyed it more than you, but I mean, it has its flaws. But I think what is good about it more than compensate for its flaws.
Yeah. Me and my friend are going to go and see Maverick. Talking about flaws, we're going to go and see Maverick. I think it's tomorrow or next week.
Yeah.
I want to say, but yeah, we're I think it might be next week, but yeah. I'm I'm kind of looking forward to it just for some old school sort of 80s cheese and references to sort of, you know, whatever and stuff like sort of
honestly, Maverick is one film I have zero interest in. I don't know why.
I you know, I watched Top Gun the other day again. It's super cheesy and stuff. But
I think I have an allergy of cheese. I think that's what does it for me.
But yeah, I kind of, you know, I think I'll just, it's going to be one of those films. I don't think it's going to take itself super seriously. It's just going to be it's just going to be a spectacle, isn't it? With Tom Cruise.
I think if I ever get a chance to see it, I'll just skip past all the talking scenes, just go straight into the fighter combat and just sit back and watch that. But it's probably be half an hour.
He actually flies the jets and stuff because you know what he's like. You know, he just he does everything and he does his stunts himself and stuff. But I think he actually flies, and you can tell that it's not like in the old films where like when they're in the Tomcats and stuff where they're literally, you know, it's just you can tell it's not real. You can see like and he's putting his hand up on the on the cockpit and stuff, because
Yeah.
obviously he's sort of holding himself there and he's sort of kind of looking around and stuff, so you
Yeah.
can tell he's sort of actually piloting that plane. I think they're in Hornets. Is it Hornets?
Okay.
It's yeah.
Big fighter jets that go very fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the next film I'm going to watch. I will skip Firestarter then, as
Yeah.
and-
Watch something else.
Yeah.
Watch Babylon 5 instead.
Babylon 5.
You have to watch it.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it's because it's like, it's going to be like this. So, it's going to be like The Expanse and stuff. Where it's just like, everybody's like, watch this. And I know, because you're telling me to watch it. I don't want to watch it.
And I told you to watch it, and you enjoyed it.
I did.
So
I loved it.
yeah, exactly. And this is my recommendation for the Babylon 5.
Am I going to love it though? Is it like so? Because I didn't see it in its heyday, am I going to get put off by the really naff graphics and stuff like that? Is it going to make me kind of go?
There's some solid writing in it. There's some solid writing. There's also some naff writing as well, but that's the same with all shows.
Mr. Wilson says on Facebook, is the remake of Babylon 5 still going ahead?
Yes, it is. Basically, because the CW has been currently going through a buyout at the moment, one of the top heads said, we are not going to accept Babylon 5 now. We're going to run it forward for next year's consideration, so we're not having to deal with the fallout of the buyout during the kind of production process of Babylon 5. So he's a massive fan. He really likes it. J. Michael Straczynski has submitted a script, and some of the notes have been back. This is one of the best scripts we've ever seen. So the signs are good. It's looking like going in production next year for fall 2023 release. And I cannot wait. I mean, people have said, why are we doing a remake of Babylon 5? Why is even J. Max Straczynski himself remaking his own show? And the perfect answer is it's 30 years on since Babylon 5 was created. But J. Max Straczynski has 30 years more writing experience.
Okay.
And so he's basically coming. You've got the basic premise, John Sheridan, former captain, being assigned to the Babylon 5, diplomatic station, and there's the coming darkness. Where they go from there, I suspect it will be quite different.
Interesting. I see. I'm just, yeah. I might watch when the new series comes out, and if I like it, maybe go back to the thing. I'm just mindful, if I watch Babylon, it's like, if you go back and you watch something that, at the time when you're growing up, it was something about, but it's super naff now. You're just like, am I just gonna be judging it because of its?
Where else will you find a show where two men talking about whether to zip the trousers up first or do the bottom up?
Every time you see Babylon 5, right, it always reminds me of that episode of Spaced. It's like, Babylon 5's a big pile of shit. Get out.
To be fair, that's a genuine and fair, reaction, and I completely endorse that response.
Yeah.
at the time, at the time Babylon 5 came out, the only other major science fiction in space show there was probably Star Trek. And it kind of boiled down to two camps, either Star Trek or Babylon 5. And I was pretty much Babylon 5 until Deep Space Nine came on. And there's distinct, strong suggestions that Deep Space Nine copied Babylon 5.
Yeah, there seems a lot of similarities from what I understand. Of watching Deep Space Nine is a series. After I've watched all of Next Generation. I've watched little bits of Voyager. I've never been a massive fan of Janeway, so it wasn't really did very much for me. But Deep Space Nine, I dipped in and out of. But from what I've seen and what I've heard, and I started watching Deep Space Nine again recently and stuff, there is similarities from what I've been told. Okay. Babylon 5 is
it just basically Star Trek went from a spaceship to being set in a space station. Babylon 5 set in a space station. Babylon 5 is a diplomatic station. Deep Space Nine is a diplomatic station. There's an ongoing plot arc through Babylon 5. Suddenly, Star Trek are doing a plot arc all the way through Deep Space Nine. There is distinct similarities there. It just felt, no, you are ripping off someone's IP, and I'm not happy with that. And I mean, admittedly, the stories went off in completely different directions. And I still think the Defiant is one of the greatest ships in Star Trek. And also, I think Cisco is one of my favorite Star Trek captains. I mean, when he punches Q, and like there's a perfect line of, "You punched me. Picard never punched me," and then Cisco goes, "I am not Picard." Oh, this is the perfect line of like the. I think when Worf becomes Cisco's security officer, like Worf asks, like, "Set face to the stun, Captain," and Cisco turns him, "Stun is for those afraid to commit."
Yeah, see, I started watching it again because I didn't watch all of it, and I dipped in and out. I was struggling though with the first, because I just watched The Next Generation, and there's obviously overlap at the end of Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. Yeah. And I started going, and Deep Space Nine, when you first get at the first sort of, series, is a bit sort of
ropey.
Yeah, it is a bit ropey, and I was struggling with it. And I started watching the second series, and I was getting better, but I got distracted with other things, and that sort of haven't sort of gone up. But yeah, he is very much a different sort of beast to Picard. And people keep on telling me, and Mr. Wilson on Facebook has just said Deep Space Nine was the best series, must have watched it 5 times.
Yeah.
So I think I need to like probably commit to it and sort of...
The problem with Deep Space Nine is that it was adhering too much to Star Trek's established series development of having like 22 episodes. Again, American TV shows were stuck in this kind of mindset of having every season must be 22 episodes long. And when you try to stretch, a story over that amount of episodes per year, again, it's like going back to that line by in The Lord of the Rings by Bill Braggins. Like, no, I feel like butter spread over too much toast. Yeah. And again, it dilutes the story. You need condense the seasons down to a much tighter story, and it's a much more satisfying, viewing overall.
Yeah. Right. Okay. We are going to move on to our news section, but our guest, the character section of the podcast. We're going to try and think of 2 each, I think. So we've got enough for me to put on TikTok, because TikTok's a thing. So we're going to have 2 each, I think. So do you want to go first or second?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay, so let me get my stopwatch out.
Okay, have you watched Person of Interest?
No.
Okay, that's one idea then.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to go with MCU first then.
MCU. Okay, so Marvel, 60 seconds. Go. Okay. Male or female?
Male.
Good or bad?
Good.
So good. Female, did you say? Sorry?
No, male.
Sorry, male. Good. Okay. In the Avengers?
No.
Have their own film?
No.
Are in one of the other films?
Yes.
In one of the Iron Man films?
Yes.
So good. In the Iron Man films.
Yes, they are.
Are they in S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes.
Is it Coulson?
Nope.
Ah! Mr. Wilson said Coulson as well. So they're in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
Are they in other films? Are they no, you said they were male. So male, yes. Good. In S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh, that's my last guess. Okay, so last question. Does he have an eye patch?
Yes, he does.
Nick Fury.
Got it.
Boom. Yes. All right. Okay, I can think. I was like, I had Coulson in my head. I was like, there's no other males in Shield. It's literally just Coulson. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. All right. Nice one. Okay. All right. I'll go for one then. So as we've been talking about Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings, I'll keep it to the films. So we're not going to go too sort of deep into the rabbit hole that is Lord of the Rings. So it's Lord of the Rings, the films. Go.
Are they human?
No. Oh, yes. No, ish.
Are they half human, half elf?
No.
Okay. Are they in all three films?
No.
Are they in Fellowship of the Ring?
Nope.
Two Towers?
Nope.
Return of the King.
Yes.
Right, so it's human-ish. Return of the King. Ooh. Are they good or bad? Are they good?
They're bad.
Oh, they're bad. Okay. Wormtongue? No.
No.
Oh, is it one of the Nazgul?
It's not one of the Nazgul.
Oh, damn. Okay. Are they the undead?
No, they are not the undead. Last guess.
Oh.
Sorry, last question, and then you can give me a guess.
Okay. Are they part of the pirate horde?
No, they're not a Corsair.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm gonna have to. No,
You're gonna say no guess, no random.
Guess. I'm sorry. No, I can't.
No random.
Go on.
The mouth of Sauron.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, humanish. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on.
Yeah. Okay, I think he's a Black Numenorian actually and stuff, or he's meant to be sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the mouth of Sauron. That was the guess. So there you go. All right. Okay, your second one. What have you got for me?
Star Wars.
Okay, Star Wars. 60 seconds. Go. Original trilogy.
Yes.
Are they in all three films?
Yes.
Are they good or are they Imperial or Rebel?
Rebel.
Rebel. All three films of the original trilogy. Okay. Are they an X-wing pilot?
No.
Are they a droid?
Yes.
Are they tall and Are they tall and gold?
Nope.
Are they short and go beep boop boop boop?
They might be.
R2D2?
Indeed, it is.
You're giving me easy ones, man. Easy.
I thought that was tricky because they're in every film. So.
Yeah. Right. Oh, nailing it today. Nailing it.
2 for 2.
Absolutely. Nailing it. 2 for 2. Okay. My one for you is going to be... It's going to be... I'm going to do it on one of your... I'm going to throw you a frickin' bone here, Pete. And if you don't get this, then...
I'm going to be embarrassed.
You're going to be very embarrassed. Okay. So, Aliens franchise.
Okay.
Let me just check. Wait, let me just check. I've got this right because I just want to make sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm right. Okay. So, Aliens franchise, 60 seconds. Go.
In the films?
Yes.
In the first one, Alien.
No.
In the sequel, Aliens.
Yes.
Okay. Were the Marine Corps?
Yes.
Okay. Were they an officer?
Yes.
Was it Lieutenant Gorman?
Ah! Well, too easy. 16 seconds, man.
Gotcha.
Nice one. You always were an asshole, Gorman.
Indeed.
Very good. I thought
that was a bone.
Yeah, it was a bone. I was kind of, because I think everybody goes for the grunts and the and APOM and stuff like that. So I thought you wouldn't throw straight in with the officer thing. So I thought you get bogged down with like Hicks and Hudson and Frost and all that lot and stuff. So
Yeah, and they are fantastic characters. I mean, but yeah, just lucky.
Yeah, well, I think you got a record there, man. 16 seconds.
Ooh.
Yeah. There you go. That makes up for the Mouth of Sauron.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. And with just a few more minutes to go, anything else you sort of kind of want to talk about before we vamoose?
Okay. Oh, stuff coming up. I mean, you've got UK games that are coming up. I mean, this is going to be the big one.
Yes.
I mean, last year's was, COVID restricted.
Mm-hmm.
She had, there was a lot of space kind of, allowed for, basically some people had sufficient space to walk around. I get from what I've heard from the UK Games Expo organisers, there's going to be no restrictions this time, so it's going to be very much back to normal. Fingers crossed. I mean, things could change, but
yeah,
I'm looking forward to this. It should be a good one. I mean, and also with travel restrictions lifting as well, there's going to be much more international flavour there. I mean, for example, last year they couldn't have everyone from Free League come along, which is like they're based in Europe, so they couldn't travel. So fingers crossed this year they'll be travelling to Free League. So it'll be great to meet some of the the board game roleplay community and creators from around the world that we couldn't do last year.
And both of us will be there.
Yes, we will.
We'll do a podcast at the event. We will hopefully interview some people if we can. And Matt will not bring a suitcase with him to fill up with his ill-gotten gains, because on the Sunday he's at Element trying to sell stuff and declutter his life. So I am not allowed to buy loads of stuff, just bits and pieces. I've got to buy some Infinity stuff for my friend because he says he can't go, but yeah, I'm going to resist. I'm going to resist so hard, Pete.
I will leave my credit card at home because I am like, a kid in a sweet shop when it comes to UK games. I suppose there's so many fantastic games there. I mean, and also, I mean, this is not just role playing. I mean, loads of role playing games there, and I love my role playing games. And yeah, there's so much good stuff there.
Yeah, I know.
But no, be good, be strong, and leave a wallet at home.
Yeah, always Apple Pay, as Mr. Wilson says.
No, there isn't. There's no such thing because I don't do iPhones.
Damn you! Contactless payments.
Oh yeah.
Damn you. Like,
that's been the bane of my life.
I've got stuff that's just turned up. So I've got the Sniper Elite board game. So if you've ever played the game, you've ever played the computer game, I just got the board game through. I've got some other Kickstarters from ages ago which are starting to trickle through. This is the problem with buying stuff in advance. They all start trickling through. Speaking
of gaming, last night I ran for my family the final adventure in the Dragon of Icefire Peak.
Right.
That comes with the D&D Essentials box set. I mean, like my son's 11 next month, and my daughter's 14, and wife joins in as well. So it's like I ran the game for them, and they're enjoying it. But this was like the final battle against Cryovane, the dragon. And I thought, she's got like hit points in three figures, low three figures, still three figures, and they're like the 5th and 6th level characters. Yeah. And like they're not fully experienced in playing role playing games, not learned how to kind of like really kind of play, take full advantage of their characters.
Yeah.
And then my son wanders in with his Dragonborn fighter, wielding the dragon slaying sword, and rolls a nat 20 and hitting it, and does something like 60 damage.
Things like that, man. You know what? Stuff like that will stay with him forever. Like that moment in his life where he got a crit 20 and nearly killed one shot at a dragon will stay with him.
Oh forever. Yeah, and it's like and then my wife then goes, right, I'm gonna fire an arrow into its throat. Okay, well, just drop I'll raise the difficulty a bit, so make it a bit harder for you. Oh, you hit it as well. And then my daughter goes, all right, this is a nice dragon. Yes, it is. I'm going to use Flaming Sphere. Right. Well, okay, assuming this is an ice dragon and you're fighting, I'm going to say you do maximum damage. Suddenly, Cry of Being Dragon isn't looking too hot and isn't looking a bit more easy than I anticipated.
See, that's the problem with being a DM, man. It's
Yeah.
sort of like my worry when I sort of do it with you guys is that. And by the way, if anybody's listening to this, we do D&D streams most Thursdays, nearly every Thursday. We've been doing it for the last year, more than a year, I think, probably.
You're coming up for 2 years now.
Yeah, really on 2 years now. Yeah, nearly 2 years now. So we stream on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook every Thursday night. Well, most Thursday nights, and we're like. It's very interesting. You should definitely give it a watch, even if you just check it out on YouTube afterwards.
Also, just to read it, this is not a nicely kind of edited, curated D&D stream of the ideal. No, we are a bunch of friends sitting around together playing D&D, giving a true reflection of what role playing is like, which is basically telling a story between ourselves and having fun.
Yeah, and it is, and it's sort of there's two very. I say the problem with being a DM, I'll get onto afterwards, but it's like there's two really sort of juxtaposed
Contrasting.
Or contrasting sort of kind of ways things happen. You've got the really overly comical, like the last episode we did were generally anything that Draken's involved in, where he's sort of doing something insane and generally doesn't sometimes it pays off and sometimes it really doesn't pay off. But it's like last episode we had sort of our wizard Thomas, played by Dave, who thought he would. So there's this like ancient weapon in the ground, and he's just like, well, if I shrink it, then we should be able to dig it out easy. So he shrinks it, and all the ground falls in with it to make this sort of trench where it was. So he's like digging it out with his hands, but he rolls a nat 1 when he's digging it out, so he falls into the trench, and then because he's lost concentration, the weapon grows again and lands on top of him, so he starts taking like shitloads of damage. And it was only the fact that I rolled low on 2d20 that he didn't die. And then Val, who's the paladin, comes up and says, all right, I'll help you out, and then rolls another nat 1 trying to help him, so crushes him more by sort of dropping it on top of him and stuff, so he does him more damage. He's got this guy just like going, and it's stuff like that. It's hilarious and it's ridiculous and it's so insane, but it's so much fun and it's lovely. But then the other side of it is you get some very, very poignant moments. You get some very, very sort of heartwarming or sad moments and stuff. Like I love that one where my brother killed Gilus. That moment where he literally sort of thanks him for saving his brother's life, but then kills him for killing his father. That moment was just like amazing. Things like that. Or when stuff. You've got these two really sort of kind of contrasting ways things happen. Super happy and silly, and super poignant and sad, and they work so well, especially for sort of getting your inner demons out and stuff. Yeah. I think it's very good for the mental health, I think.
Well, yeah, my nature in my career is I'm a freelance journalist. I do a lot of writing, a lot of research, everything has to be checked, double checked, fact checked, referenced, and everything. So to play someone that doesn't give a damn about consequences, that just goes forth and just kicks the door and hits it with an axe, it's just liberating.
See, this is what I like about the character. See, and each character has their own sort of thing. Like, I think Mark's character, Lance, is very much the voice of reason, and he does things sort of as they should be done, and things. He doesn't do anything too risky and stuff. It's just like he's a warforged, and he does things methodically and
very tactical.
Yeah, and it's very sort of. So he has his own thing. Then you've got you, who literally has his way of doing things, and you've got your own sort of code of honor.
Yeah,
but you are a very much hit first, ask questions later sort of thing.
Well, the reason why I did give Draken that code of honor, because Draken could easily just be a murder womble.
Yeah.
But I wanted he will not hit defenseless people. He will not hurt defenseless people, because that is, otherwise it just kind of
Yeah, I like that, and and see, that's what, when you have these different things. So even like, Danny, who's basically meant to be good but is pretty much a murder hobo and stuff. You got all these things, and then there's Val's character, so he's sort of I think he's sort of kind of trying to find his place in the sort of and where he is and stuff, and with the backstory and stuff. And I think with all these things, they've all got sort of it progresses the story quite well and stuff, and it's like, it just helps and stuff, and it's sort of like, it means I can sort of go off and start going down a story arc and stuff. So I'm trying to focus on my brother's characters, or at the minute there's a bit of arc I want to go with there, then I can move on to Draken's father, and there's lots of things, obviously I'm trying to give everybody a little bit of a thing that can sort of kind of can move on and stuff. But it's like, and this gets us back to what the initial thing is. The hardest thing about being a DM is knowing how difficult to make things. Now, you don't want to be like, you get DMs, I think, who make things too hard and they're happy to let their characters die. I don't want people to die on that. I want people to enjoy it. I want there to be a risk. I want there to be enough risk there that you're not going to do stupid stuff all the time that I'm having to sort of bail you out of. But conversely, I don't want to make things so hard that you're just getting wiped out and it's just not enjoyable. So it's a very it's a very happy sort of, there has to be a happy medium and stuff. And sometimes you underestimate how you will do things, and you'll just be like when I first did the False Hydra for you guys and Ben Fee and stuff, I completely underestimated how easy that was going to be for you, and it was just sort of your family have just done. They just sort of basically one-shotted it, and I was just like, oh, so that's it. And so it's just like something. Now I'm getting to the point where if I feel things are getting too easy, I just up the level hardest. Or I throw in extra things just so it becomes a little bit more competitive. But I'm very mindful that I don't want to overdo it, because there was that time when my brother threw in and he charged in, and I upped the hardness, and he nearly got one-shotted by, and he would have like been out and out dead if it weren't for a few hit points by one character and stuff. And I was like, fuck. And that was me going too high and stuff. So it's very much finding that sort of happy medium.
Middle ground.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even then there are things the players will do that you just cannot expect. I mean, during the campaign for Dragon of Ice Spy Peak, you can find a necklace of fireballs. Now, it doesn't say it's necklace of fireballs, and it's just a very pretty necklace. And my son threw it to my daughter. So my son threw it to my daughter's character without realizing what it was. And my daughter failed to roll it. She rolled something a 1 to catch it.
Yeah.
Now, basically, the necklace of fireball works by you detach one jewel and throw it at someone, and where it lands, cast a fireball spell at 8d6 damage. It gets better. You can take off more, and each additional jewel does an extra d6 damage. Or you could throw the entire thing, which is what my son's character did, and roll for 15d6 damage. And my daughter's character failed to catch it. Oh, no. And whilst there, I just kind of tried to while I was panicking like anything, do you, Jeff, trying to catch that necklace before it falls on the ground? Right, you might want to.
Yeah,
okay, I'll try and catch it.
Like a certain wizard casting a fireball at something he shouldn't have been casting fireballs at, and
that was miscommunication.
Yeah. If he's there's like one of the early streams we did to sort of see if we could get into D&D again, and Pete's character basically, I think he said if he sees anything, he was just going to, jokingly, if I see anything. It was like, if I see anything, I'm going to cast a fireball at it. So I saw it, and I cast a fireball. But that was not without appreciating this sheer size of what I was facing. Yeah, and I was just like, oh, fuck. I don't know how I can get out of this, because if he does it, then there's literally no coming back. That's it. And I didn't want to ruin the stream by having you all die. So I was like, please do something to try and stop him.
I still think our original idea of putting on a massive concert and deafening everybody with metal and pyrotechnics and thunderclaps would have been a brilliant tactic,
Well,
but
stuff
someone thought that was a bit too silly.
See, that's it. It's the whole thing is that's what D&D is. And if you've not
Yeah,
tried it, if you should. I don't think there was always a stigma with it, wasn't there? But it's just like it's
yeah. I think up until I would say the past 10 years has the stigma finally gone. I mean, I used to do D&D and then role playing in the 90s and 80s. I've done gaming since the late 80s. And there was a massive stigma. I mean, we're talking about the massive satanic panic in the 80s, and there was kind of the link, even though like much of the scaremongering around gaming was kind of like thoroughly, discredited in the 1990. There was still that lingering, it's for geeks, it's for nerds, it's for like it's let's pretend, like no, it's more than that. It's only the past 10 years when you had like people like
my dog's kicking off.
not your dog, no. We have people like what's his name, Vin Diesel coming out saying, "Yeah, I play I play D&D."
Yeah,
and like it's just, I think the people that played D&D then in the 80s and 90s now kind of in positions of authority. I kind of have a much greater platform.
Yeah,
where we say, "Yeah, I play D&D. I'm a nerd." And when you got someone like Vin Diesel saying, "Yeah, I do D&D. I can't do this perfectly, but I'm not going to pretend."
there's loads of them. There's loads of them that do it and stuff.
Yeah.
There's loads of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Joe Manganiello.
John Manganiello,
Yeah.
John Feig.
Yeah, there's loads of
Yeah.
them. Guitarist from Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, again, it's like it's been massive. I mean,
Tom Morello.
And Tom Holland, not Tom Holland.
Tom Morello.
Tom Morello, that was it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like there's many people have come out and said, "Yeah, I play D&D," and it's fantastic. And also the fact that you've now seen D&D be used in therapy and as a coping mechanism, like always kind of learning how to kind of develop tactics, learn how to kind of manage different social situations through role playing.
Yeah, my dog is literally trying to get through the window at this moment in time. He's kicking off. His arch nemesis is obviously walked past the window. I'm going to walk in there and he's going to have chewed something. I know it. He's such a... That's it. He's coming. He's all whimpering now because he wants outside. No! God. Dogs. Right. Anyway, I'm gonna have to go now because he's just being a nightmare. Obviously, as soon as I do anything, but we're at the tail end of this anyway, so it's not too bad. Anyway, ladies and gents, it has been great. Thank you very much for watching, Mr. Wilson. As always, it's great for all the comments. Much appreciated. If you're listening to this afterwards, then please listen to us live. We do it on Sundays most nights, though we may move it to a Monday at some point in time, depending on how things are. But please do join us, ask some questions and stuff. We're still working on the whole Patreon thing. We should have some nice extras and stuff for people at some point in time when Matt pulls his finger out to organise it. But yeah, for tonight, I've been Matt Geary, and with me has been my co-host, Peter Ray Allison.
Good night, everyone. And look after each other.
Night.
Good night.